Hello everyone and welcome to chapter 4 lesson 2 row limiting clause. Row limiting clause is used to limit the number of rows that are retained in the result set. Number of rows can be limited by specifying the number of rows or percentage of rows to retain with the fetch first keyword. We can retain, for example, sample of data, or we can, for example, use row limiting clause to retain top n, for example, records. We can use with row limiting clause offset keyword to specify that the retained rows begin after a specified number of rows. We can skip specific number of rows and then retain the next records. The row limiting clause exactly follows the order by clause. Row limiting clause is a feature available only in Oracle database 12c and later. For example, if you have a database 10G or 11G, this feature is not available. To understand how to use the row limiting clause, let's have a look at this example. Here our select statement select employee ID, last name, salary from table employees order by salary descending. So as we can see, this select statement retains all employees order by the salary in descending order. That means the high value comes first. Let's assume that we don't want to retain all employees. We want to retain only the top 5 paid employees or the top 5 salaries. That means we want to retain only these 5 records: 24,000, 17,000, 17,000, 14,000 and 13,500. Only the top 5 paid employees. So in this case, we can use the row limiting clause. Row limiting clause, as we learned in the previous slides, follows exactly the order by clause by using fetch command. Fetch first 5 rows only. So after sorting the data by salary in descending order, retains only the first 5 records. So instead of retaining all employees, we retains only the top 5 paid employees. So as we can see, our select statement, after sorting the output by salary in descending order, it retains only the first 5 employees. In the second example here, select employee ID, last name, salary from table employees order by employee ID, offset 4 rows. That means skip 4 rows, fetch next 2 rows only. Skip 4 rows and retain the next 2 rows. So if you have this output without using the row limiting clause order by the employee ID, if you put here offset 4 rows, fetch next 2 rows only, that means skip 4 rows, skip these 4 rows and then retain the next 2 records. So our select statement here, we retains only 2 records after skipping 4 records. That means retain employee 104 and 105. Only 2 records after skipping 4 records. In the third example here, we can use percentage to retain sample of data. Select employee ID, last name, salary from table employees order by employee ID. Order the data by using employee ID in ascending order and then retains only 5% from the table employees. Fetch first 5% rows only. That means 5% from the table employees. So if your table contains, for example, in our case, the employees table contains 107 records, 5%, that means 5 multiplied by 107 divided by 100, which is equal to 5.35. So Oracle in this case will retain 6 records, not 5 records, 6 records. So in this case, our select statement, instead of returning all employees, will retain only 6 records, the first 6 records. In the fourth example here, we can also skip records and retain percentage of rows. Select employee ID, last name, salary from table employees order by the employee ID. After sorting the data by the employee ID in ascending order, offset 3 rows. That means skip 3 rows. So Oracle will skip these 3 rows and then fetch first 2% rows only. 2% of the records. So if your table contains 107 records, so in this case 2%, that means 2 multiplied by 107 number of records divided by 100, which is equal to 2.14 records. So in this case, Oracle will retain 3 records, not 2 records. So here in our example, Oracle will skip 3 records, offset 3 rows, and then retains 2% of the rows from the employees table. Our table contains 107. So in this case, Oracle will retain these 3 records. So as we can see, the select statement retains employee 103, 104, and 105. So in this lesson, we learn how to use row limiting clause to limit the records retained by the select statement. I hope this video was informative for you, and thank you for watching.